dark instead of run away.
You are now listening to a forbidden album and subject matter within Christian hip-hop. Jair.
I want to say that I've always been afraid to review people's music, simply just due to the fact that I don't know what their feedback is going to be if I'm truly honest about what I think of their music. Welcome back to I want to say this is like a part 2 to reviewing people's music that I missed out on, kind of like during the spring, winter a little bit series. Last video I covered projects that I mostly missed during the winter and into the spring, but this video is mainly going to be focused on projects that I've been trying to catch up on during the spring. But I want to say, yeah, it's definitely been a cool experience just because the art of music reviews, it's almost like a skill and discipline that isn't easy to have naturally.
A war in the kingdom, I'm picking my side. I pray for salvation for all of the guys. I'm Christian, I'm supposed to be scared. I ain't fearing the devil. Man, love all your neighbors. That's really the mission.
I'm gonna have to go a solid 9. 9.5. 9 to a 9.5. And I'm a
9.5?
I knew it was no problem. I saw it over there. No, bro, it's like this. And then you beat the beat. Bro. I understand it. Cause it was times where I was like, man, I'm not on time and it's kind of bothering me.
I feel like there's an art to it, which makes it dope.
This is probably the best song tonight. Let me
but you see what I'm saying? He knows how to execute. I want to just hear this one more time to see if I'm tripping.
You tripping. You gotta understand.
I can't do the whole.
It's a new song.
As it does require a lot of honesty. And personally for me, like I'm just a person who I'm not just gonna go and, trash someone's album or anything like that. But I definitely believe in the value and importance of not just faking a feedback just because someone could take that and that could be more harmful than good. So I've always liked to be honest when it comes to anything in general. But yeah, it's been a cool learning curve. And especially with this month, collaborating with OB and Corey Wynn Music, I got the chance to collab with them on reviewing music every Friday with Proper Excel and just kind of being a part of this $1,000 live music review tournament where the winner of each Friday kind of gets placed in a bracket and pretty much, they kind of go head to head at the end of the month. So it's been cool to join that, kind of like learn from guys like OB and other artists like Corey, just observing how they evaluate music themselves. It's been pretty cool to see and kind of just use that to kind of improve my music review skills. I don't want to stray too far into that, but I will say if this video does come out before Friday, this Friday is actually the last slot of the month. So if you're trying to win $1,000 to help with whatever you got going on, then definitely join the live stream on Instagram, either through Corey's or through, OB or, But yeah, let's get straight into this music review. Now, I want to say before I get into reviewing this album, I want to say the story and listening journey of Jair didn't quite necessarily start for me when it came to just simply reviewing it straight through. This really actually started 5 months ago on a late night conversation with JJL, who made this album. Now, at the time, there was some interesting stuff going on with ICE around America, and I had made a little clip video just giving my commentary about kind of how Christians interact with social issues and especially how we define that, as that plays an important part in the video later on. Now, the video was nothing more than an observation, but what I didn't expect was a late night call from JJL at 11 p.m. Just really him talking about his experiences with what this album is about, as an undocumented immigrant. His story is pretty interesting as someone who was on the run for a while. Being born into this country and living his life as any other regular citizen, didn't find out that he was undocumented until he was about 14. His parents broke the news to him as he was set soon to become an adult without any way to prove that he was an American citizen. His parents, hoping that the government would find a way to open up a path to legal citizenship, finally found help through the DACA program. A program that still helps you get your papers here in order to keep pursuing the American dream. However, things did change under a different administration, even at one point being on the run due to a slow legal system delaying his renewal for documentation. And so it was through this time that JJL saw a different side of things, dealing with people who were against his very existence in the country, seeing DACA recipients still being hunted down by ICE despite their papers, and many other issues. One thing JJL also noted during the conversation with my content is my transparency. With how I approach my videos, I definitely want to be honest about my views when it comes to immigration, just because I think, especially in this day and age, being honest about your biases, being honest about your viewpoints, it kind of just gives transparency to you, the viewer. So not only know my thought process, but also know, where I come from. Just because my views of immigrations, throughout the phone call, I could tell slightly differed from JJL's, but we ultimately agreed that there are some issues with the broken issue issue of immigration in America. Someone who lives in Canada, our immigration history and background is a little bit different as of recent, as our government straight up broke the immigration system. You know, I'm someone that believes in coming into the country the right way. That's something I 100% believe, but there is nuanced issues and discussions to be had when that system does become broken, as not every person's issue is simply black and white. And the issue of immigration kind of gets a bit complicated. Though I really want to move along and tie this back to this piece, Jair. Or I hope I'm saying it right. Okay, so I actually did not say this right, because the deeper I got into the editing process with this video, the more the word really bothered me for some reason. So I actually went back and Googled it. It's actually Jair, and I'm not gonna lie, I ain't Spanish. We barely got Spanish people up here in Canada, so to all my Hispanic people, if you're watching this, I'm sorry for butchering your word, because I pretty much butchered it throughout the whole entire album review by the time I finished the editing. So I at least wanted to acknowledge that, you know, I at least wanted to get that right. But the proper pronunciation for this is actually Jair. As Jair to me represents an untapped demographic of Hispanic artists and listeners that cover considerable ground within the space of Christian hip hop. This is pretty much a group of people that have some sort of connection to their Hispanic background, which makes all the more their story and walk pretty interesting.
Okay, if this blows up, will it even move the needle? I just wanna put by me hit the Blue Beetle.
I love 350 on the Switch with Blue Beetle, man. That was really like one of my favorite moments on this album, especially because one critique I definitely do have is that I would have loved if 350 kind of got incorporated towards the end of the album on Jair. It's because to me, 350 has always had like a natural affinity for like very melancholic beats and just rapping over those. But I think he would have blended really well on that track. But Blue Beetle, I love the song. Though pushing through this along, Blue Beetle and just the tracks above that really has you thinking what goes through the mind of someone that's a Christian, but that is essentially undocumented. Like when it comes to this whole discourse of immigration, one line that's always been interesting to me that I've seen thrown at Christians is a common statement that Jesus was an immigrant. You know, often making one wonder if that is a properly exegeted statement. Because I know a lot of Christians get caught up in the argument regarding this statement, though listening to JJL's story, it makes you wonder, even if you don't agree with that statement, how should Christians from different backgrounds properly process these real life issues? As that is often an issue I have when the church emphasizes and assures diversity, and what the idea of that really means.
Meanwhile, Nick, Shirley, and some others lie about such and such. They want my people stuck at Ross.
As we get to the real, I want to say, centerpiece of this album on the song Brown Gohan, I want to say this is probably the heaviest JJL feels in terms of his emotions and grievances when it comes to his issues of, you know, not only what he experiences, but what he sees online. And I want to pause before I move on, just because I want to say what JJL does is essentially what hip hop is at its purest, being socially conscious. And even that idea of what that can really mean is quite interesting, considering the relationship between hip-hop and conservatism. Those are two things that naturally don't blend, especially considering that it is in a subgenre like Christian hip-hop. But the situation regarding ICE and all these other issues we see around the world really opens up the issue of how a Christian defines a social issue. Just because from what I tend to find, Christians have a different outlook and attitude altogether on different social issues. And this is something even I struggle with, as it does make one question if abortion is a social issue, if human trafficking is a social issue, then how should a Christian feel on our conviction when we vote on wars or race issues and other problems? If there are certain issues that are permissible to speak on, then why do others get frowned and looked down upon? I mean, we could take Lecrae just as an example. Someone like him or Shobaraka and others who experienced a lot of pushback trying to shed a light on tense racial issues around the country. Whether if it was George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, or other issues, there was a strong arm and pushback on a Christian artist speaking on certain social issues. Come fast forward to the death of Charlie Kirk, Lecrae and some other artists found themselves in the position of being scapegoated, as they were staring at the legacy of someone who was by all means antithetical to race-related views within America. As the one time that conservatism demands hip-hop to be socially conscious ends up being met with an invisible wave of silence.
Why haven't you said anything? Why haven't you said anything? Why haven't you said anything?
Charlie Kirk truly a martyr? Some Christians think he wasn't, and in fact, they believe that his words weren't giving martyr.
It showed me and made me understand that the dynamic between conservatism and hip hop, it's pretty dicey, as there are people on different sides of the fence when it comes to all sorts of issues. I want to make it clear again that my intention isn't to persuade anyone into which political side, or social issue, or whatever it is better, but rather try my best to give an honest exegetical analysis into a dicey issue that isn't talked a whole lot within the church. I definitely can't cover every aspect of this issue into one single into a short video. Though I do want to acknowledge that this is a complicated issue and complex topic that definitely needs to be consolidated into its own separate video, as I know there are many different loose ends to tie for people on both ends of different issues. Now, one thing before we do move on, I definitely want to say I'm surprised nobody even caught this, but the King's Dreams bar.
Keep it peaceful with evil, I refuse to grift. God gave a gift and it's a king's dream. It ain't for entertaining white folk on YT stream.
That was a direct shot at Ruslan. I mean, typically Ruslan, he's pretty level-headed when it comes to a lot of his approaches on different issues, but JJL expresses that there are some problematic things he sees when it comes to Ruslan's stance on immigration and other social issues. Personally, for me, I love Ruslan's stuff. I love his takes as I've been watching him for years, but even I, in certain instances, I definitely do disagree on some of Ruslan's takes, how he handles the sensitivity of certain social issues, really just regarding his take on the whole Gaza war and everything like that, and how he kind of talked about it. Strong emphasis on the word disagreeing, because as of late in Christian hip-hop, there's this whole issue around just taking everything as a beef when someone disagrees. So please, like, this is not, I don't have anything against Ruslan, but like anybody, I got my own opinion, and I don't always agree with everyone. And really more so the grievance of JJL's bar at Ruslan, I think it's a shot at the lack of care I think Christians take when it comes to certain social issues that they don't traditionally align with. But you know, I found that this album can really only go so far with someone's grievances. My question at this point is that, you know, listening to everything up to this point, where as a Christian do you put these hurts and grievances?
What do you do when life becomes static? Where does your pain go? And more importantly, who or what do you turn to?
Now, this album isn't just the story of a Christian artist who's bitter against an unjust system and his issues with certain figures around the Christian and conservative space, but rather, especially as a Christian, how do you forgive the very people that birthed you into this? I would even go as far as to say, how do you forgive people that are against your very existence in America? Because these grievances, these behavior patterns of living your life on the run, you know, this stuff has to go somewhere. I think the only other things to say about this album is that it makes me question really the marketing and packaging of who this album's for. Or not necessarily who it's for, but who should it be pushed toward? Should it be pushed towards the Christian audience to help them better understand people's situations in this world, or should it go somewhere else where people will resonate more with it? I don't know, and I don't have the answers, but regardless of where you fall on this certain issue, I think one thing is clear. JJL makes it known that there clearly needs to be more nuance with how Christians handle and approach a lot of these topics, you know, regardless of where you land. As there are other artists like JJL who share similar complicated stories and backgrounds.
Hoy quiero que te tomes el momento para mirar hacia atrás, hermano, y ver todo lo que has superado.
But yeah, we'll see how things go as he gears up to release another new single, and we'll see what the next chapter and story is in for JJL. But yeah, that's it. Alright guys, so for the next setting, we're gonna switch it up a bit. We're in a hotel. We're out here in Richmond, Virginia, actually, for Aaron Cole's 2 Up to Down Fest. I'm just here for a little vacation, man. So I figured while I was recording this, you know, I realized I'm doing this on the move, so forgive me for the switch up. So I wanted to cover Marty's Cult Classic, but to be honest, I was actually falling behind on just covering certain projects. So I figured FERN's All My Fans Became Rappers was a separate project I was gonna cover in a different video. I figured I kind of just intertwine and kind of combine the two. So this is what we're gonna do. I pulled a good friend of the channel, Medial Point, and I got him to help me out with a bit of this review. And I figured we kind of just try blending a review of Cult Classic and FERN all together. I've never really done this before, but just stay with me. I think this will be an interesting part of the video.
All my fans became rappers, man. I guess that's what happened.
Report.
Yo.
All right, now starting out with FERN, man. I want to say this, just to begin things off, this to me feels just like such a refreshing start to not only this project, I mean like literally the first song, but quite literally just the direction FERN's been going on. Just because from my personal experience and timeline with knowing FERN as an artist, you know, just listening to him throughout the years, this direction he's been going in just feels intentional.
I always wanted to drop solo stuff. You know, I did the 16 Douglas, and I always meant to keep dropping and keep going, but the Lord already told me, he's like, look, if you would have did that FERN stuff and you would have really tried to do it how you wanted to, you would have had no time to raise your kids at all. I was already, I need to go home off the social club tours. Like, we were gone 200 dates a year in our heyday. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a beautiful season right now, being independent, kind of getting control of the calendar. You know, I can do it whenever I want, however I want. But what I was trying to say is, like, I kind of cried wolf a lot of times. So I'm gonna drop, and I never really dropped. But that ain't me no more. You know what I'm saying? I'm just consistently dropping. And
obviously, you know what I mean, he's still with Marty at Apollo Records. But I mean, now this just feels like he kind of just has room to breathe and expand and just kind of do solo stuff. Just because over the years, I've seen FERN.
Last time we spoke on Marty, I made a statement that now I think is a grave miscalculation. I said that Marty conceptually is the guy who acknowledges that he may be kind of dorky, but he has that underlying mentality that says that he is the coolest man in the room. And I think is actually a misappropriation of Marty overall. I think more accurately, or what he's evolved from now, is the type of rapper who acknowledges that he may not be your typical ideal candidate for most interesting rapper, but could easily demonstrate with his discography that he is.
Someone who's like one half of Social Club, someone who's contrarian to Marty. You know, somebody with his own story and background, going from prison to doing ministry. You know, FERN comes with his own style, his own story, and everything. I know he's done some solo stuff in the past, but I don't know. This, just listening to this project, this just feels like a refreshing start, especially who he's doing it with.
And I think that's similar to where Marty is. He's not using, I guess, that awkward tension or that sort of off-kilter. What's the show? He has this sort of Curb Your Enthusiasm type sensibility, but he's not using it as an apology or an over-acknowledgement of, I know I'm not the coolest guy. No. That's just a part of who he is. There's a lot much more to Marty. He's not a corny guy trying to be a rapper. He's not corny at all. He's just a guy named Marty with his specific brand of sense of humor that he has incorporated quite fluidly. And I think it stands out because the truth is, it was for a long time. It's a little bit more common now, but for a long time, CHH really wasn't fun to listen to.
You know, him and Robo 2K, I want to say they got one of the best producer-partner relationships around Christian hip-hop. Like, just listening to this project, I think hands down, that's what you walk away with. And in one of those ways, it's like, you know, FERN describes it in the little album, but like Flow State, this is something that he brings up throughout the project. Flow State is what not only is in, but what you yourself are in just listening to it, man. I just love this laid back, I want to say lo-fi-esque production. The influence kind of reminds me a bit of like Najibas. Those of you who know ball, like a little bit of that, and just some of the influences around it. Because, you know, it's almost like as if when listening to this, FERN almost unlocks a new flow. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but
it was cool to listen to. It was a good alternative to listen to, but it was rare that a Christian rapper would actually make you laugh, when laughing is such a common part of like rap. People like rappers are funny, and Marty is a funny rapper. Like, he's a funny guy who's also a rapper. So I think how long am I going? Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up because it's close up on 5 minutes. I think Marty is kind of peak right now, and it could go up from here. And I told Marty this. My favorite song off that album is Rap Superstar. It's my favorite song off the album, hands down. It actually takes me back to that era in like the late 2000s.
I just want to say, this is coming from me, someone who was never really a big listener of FERN over the years, just from a solo standpoint. Just because, I don't know, his music was never really, like, I never really like latched onto it. But just listening to this, I just felt like this wasn't a waste of my time. Like, this was really, truly a good project to listen to. With one of my favorite songs being an example of that, True to Self. To me, this is a song that captures literally what I've explained so far in the first few minutes as to what this album is about. And like I said, this is like a new direction I want to say for FERN, as you could say he's a more mature version of himself, as he defines for himself. I want to say like a new mission, because that's definitely something I want to say when it comes to the Apollo Boys, particularly between Marty and FERN, as they've been making music in the Christian hip hop space for quite a long time. You know, the listeners kind of want to know, what is Apollo about? You know, what is the vision and direction that not only, you know, these new artists are bringing, but that they themselves now as individuals are bringing. What is their mission? What is their purpose? You know, all of those questions. And I think FERN does a good job of answering those questions when you do.
Common get more play, and the Beastie Boys, and you know, Kanye West, and all these other cats that kind of met that criteria. You know, Lupe Fiasco. You would see that stuff more prevalent, and so this sounds like something that I totally would have heard on that countdown at one point. And yeah, I think that along with some other singles that he's made in the past, like, to me, that's really kind of next level type CHH stuff. But
you know, you see a more matured version of himself, throwing in some interesting bars.
Wires on the block, I got a message for you. Wrote it in this song, cause through them headphones, how I get it to you. I ain't talking Roblox, trying to block your way. Last tape was the proper one, the purple tape, the emblem, Robo going harder than the union workers' pension.
That union pension bar, that's an adult bar. That's an adult bar right there. He also answers that question of what that vision and direction is, just stringing along his theme and storytelling of still having a heart and connection to prison outreach and just the stories from there. You know, that's like a theme that still plays an important part in his life. Overall though, I want to say that this is a project that matched FERN's maturity, paired up along with Robo 2K's vision for like a laid back, very chilled production. As I want to say, it really did match FERN's persona. This was a great project built with the intent to match FERN's vision and timeline as to where he's at in life. Yeah, personally, take it from me, I would definitely give it a listen. It's a great listen to run through, as you won't be disappointed.
Anyway, going on 6 minutes. I tried to keep it down, but those are my thoughts. Chop it up how you feel.
Will help. Man, we are finally back home, and I just wanted to wrap up the tail end of this video, just covering a few singles and short EPs that I've been meaning to get around to, one of being Q's Sad EP. This was an EP that I think was helpful in raising a lot of questions about understanding Q better as an artist, just because listening to Q, I've always had questions about his sound and vocals as an artist and how he fits into just hip-hop. How do you fit in as a lead vocalist coming from a rock-based background into Christian hip-hop? And I'm confident the answer for that came in the form of his song Speak.
Do you miss me when we don't speak? You can't even recall how you used me. Now you got my feelings playing on repeat. Mask up, what's up? You don't need to see.
This was a song on the EP I really liked and enjoyed, as not only did Q fit in by blending his sound with some sad lyrics on the energy of this track, but it also painted a roadmap into other songs that I've listened to from him in the past that I think really suit him. And personally for me, I could see more going in a direction of, like League Lessons being one of them.
What do you think you gonna do? Battle done before we say choose. Oh, you thought this fight would be fair. You can cheat, but I could do truth. In the league because I'm savage with it. I always want the glory.
And Joy Fix, which was a single I really enjoyed.
Fix me up. Only you can heal me from the damage over.
All that to say, I think he's a really interesting artist with a unique voice that you should go check out, because I do believe there's something unique there. The last artist / single that I want to put out is Kid Prince's Simply Put single.
I can't help but stay away from fakes and keep it true with y'all. Do the hard work and make no wishes. Ain't no shooting stars, me and God. Ain't no granting wishes like it's Dragon Ball. Spirit got me powered up. I feel like Kakarot. Bring revival to your hood. This ain't no Mardi Gras.
I would definitely check him out as an artist simply because with Kid Prince, you know, listening to that or Positive ID, one thing about him is that he presents a great element of storytelling, which we've been seeing as of late around CHH. But if you're looking for more of that, I would definitely check out Kid Prince. Check out his stuff like Simply Put, Positive ID, or other stuff if you're looking to try something new and just be introduced to his music. And I believe he's also performing at Smokefest Cypher, so I would definitely give him a listen. Aside from that, that is pretty much it from me, guys. I also want to say this is probably going to be my last video as we are rolling out this docu-series this summer, so we will be back, but we're just going to be locked in for a while. So take care. I will see you next video.